making millions of dollars, and the victim's family have not partaken. None of those trusts took your gold, gave you this. Took your language, gave you this.
100% way to survive jail or prison. Don't go.
Build your credit up while you need credit.
Then 12 years goes by and you don't even get a chance to go up for parole.
I'm telling you.
You advocate for people like Bo Billy.
Oh my God,
yeah.
Bo Billy.
Bo-
May Bradley, like these guys been down 40 plus years.
Yeah,
Need a voice, need somebody to advocate.
absolutely.
Like, come on, man.
And you know, I had the pleasure to be on an interview with you today. You know, for James Harden. Shout out to Munchie. You know, fighting for his freedom 28 years. And if you know him, you know he a changed person. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But these people don't see that, and I think that's another thing that we need to try to fight for as well. You know, and I know this was an issue the whole time I was locked up. Is like the parole board, you know, the way that they conduct their business, you know, you never talk to those people, you know what I'm saying? And it's like when you watch these movies and you see people go up for parole, they be at like a board like this and you talking to the people that are actually going to make this decision on your life.
They get to see you.
Yeah, and they get to look you in your eyes. They get to feel, you know, use your own judgment. But it's so many levels that it go through before it get to them. You go through an examiner, and then what if the examiner and you don't have a good vibe? What if the examiner, you know, so he's going to pass his notes down to this person, then it's going to go to the board. And it's just too much, you know, distance in between freedom and the people who make the decision.
Right.
That's why I always say I can't stand the criminal justice system. You know, I never say I don't like law. You need law and order in a civilized society, but the criminal justice system is so imbalanced. It's so wicked. You know, it's so cutthroat.
But for so long, you know,
it just, and it's those that constitute it. Those, you got old men sitting on the bench who lived through eras where they was racist, bigoted, prejudiced. You know what I'm saying? And not just one or two, 90% of them are old individuals that's out of touch, man, and do things a certain way and follow status quo. You know, so where are you going to get justice in that?
Right. And I always say, like, why do they hate us? Because of our color of our skin? Like, you really want to lock us
That's
up
mental
because
health.
right? Because we're black and brown people.
Gotta be mental
because there's
health.
no other reason why you want to put us in captivity and not let us out. And let me just go back to you and say that I remember when you and I first connected, you know, you were definitely was one of my inspiration because of how you were fighting. And when I first came in, I didn't know a lot about Virginia. And you were willing to share all your paperwork with me. And I read it and I gravitated to it. And even when you had a little obstacle, I just said, hey, call me, because I knew that I feel like you can attract your freedom. And I was like, listen, don't let it get you down. There's still a fight. Keep fighting. And you kept fighting. And that's why you came home. So I applaud you for what you did. And it just showed me that don't take no for an answer. Like you weren't taking no for an answer. You just kept trying to prove why you shouldn't be incarcerated, and the results became really good. So that's when I learned about the appeal process. So everything that you taught me, I coupled it with what other people taught me, and I feel like that's what's making me so good at what I'm doing, because I'm learning from guys like you that are willing to share your fight and embrace me and not look at me like, well, she's a stranger and we're not going to share critical information. But you opened your arms and you showed me everything, and I learned so much from you. And so I just take it, and I'm so happy to be able to bring it back. And then let's talk about the legendary Bo Billy.
Yes.
When that case came to me, I was at the meeting in Portsmouth when Chair Dotson and Samuel Boone came. And I know we talked about the parole board, but I'm very open-minded, and I know that we're under a Republican administration, and I still have some mixed feelings. But the parole board members that I've encountered, they are really fighting to grant second chances. And so we're so excited. And when I heard about Bo Billy's case, I naturally gravitated, started to do some research, and saw the video that you had with Bo Billy. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and advocate for him, take his case. And what made Bo Billy so good was that he never was defeated, that he knew that someday he was going to get out of prison. Bo Billy was 17 years old when he was incarcerated for a non-homicide crime. He got more charges while he's been in prison, and no one ever took into account mitigating factors about his youth, and why instead of just using one word and run the sentence concurrent, by the time he started off, he had a 25-year sentence going in, and it turned out to be 96, 97 years. And he still has more time. And so with Sam Boone, we shout him out, the parole board members,
Yes.
because Mr. Boone personally
Yes.
drove up to Wallens Ridge and met with Bo Billy. And this was the first time a parole board member ever in the time that he's been incarcerated took his time and went and met face to face with Bo Billy. And when I got that phone call with him just saying thank you, and his spirit was lifted up, he said, no matter what the results are, I just appreciate you for fighting and putting me in such a good position that the parole board vice chair went and spoke to me, and his whole team, oh my God, his team was incredible. Women coming together, attorneys, psychologists, his girlfriend from New York, Connie, and just saying, here is everything laid out. So it made my job so much easier. So when I went to advocate for him, we had a tremendous team, and we believe that Bo Billy is going to get out this year.
I believe so too.
Attracted it, and I'm playing it.
Yes. And see, that
it's several stories.
Yeah,
like
and but Bo situation, specifically, that if you really look at that, because I know a lot about it because I've been advocating for him. But if you really look at that, man, you can see that right there is a classic example of the injustice in the system, and also the biasness, right? They doing what they doing to Bo for some in-house stuff, because because I mean, just as we talking about justice here, so you talking about a man, like I said, that went in at 17, non-homicidal offense, right? Okay, non-homicide, all the stuff they want to say that he did since he been in prison, he ain't killed nobody.
Yeah,
you and I both know people who went to prison for homicide, committed a homicide in prison, and it's out.
And that's out.
So how can you, and I know people, you know people, I know you do, 4, 5, 6 life sentences out, and he's still there. So it got to be personal.
Right.
It has to be personal.
And then to keep Bo Billy in solitary confinement for like 20 years.
22 years.
And then expect him to be normal.
Right.
When he comes out of solitary confinement.
Or not to be angry.
And not to be angry,
or
not
bitter.
to be bitter. But and while he's been incarcerated, what we do is we try to take the good of what the person is doing. People don't even know Bo Billy's got college credits. That part.
Got college credits, got GED, got
and raised,
excellent penmanship.
Raised his nephew and his son while he's been in prison. And so people only want to talk about the negative with Bo Billy, but they don't want to talk about the positive. And then I took on 2 other cases, Tony Lewis and Michael Cross. And when I did the research, I think you saw my Instagram, I drove up to the courts and was so intrigued because they had preserved all the records. And when I read it, you could tell like it was they were trying to escape back in the days because they were juveniles. And they were 21, they were like, I don't want to be in prison. So they tried to leave the prison, right? And when Michael Cross, what he did was he jumped on a guard and he, injured him. But Michael took him and put him in a cell and put him away so that he wouldn't be hurt. And when the guard ended up later on being taken out, Michael Cross knew what he did from day one, that he was wrong. And he went to the warden and said, don't blame anybody else. This is my fault. But because of the racist people in this particular area, Southampton County, what they ended up doing was they put Tony Lewis and another guy, I can't remember his name right now, but they put him on death row. So now you have juveniles that literally had an execution date. But Michael was so smart. He had an attorney who did some digging and found out because there was a delay with medical treatment is why the guard died. And so they've all been eligible for parole. One of the co-defendants is now out. And this case I'm definitely advocating for, because if we talk about a prison system and you talk about remorse and you talk about rehabilitation, if these men have proven that they were sorry, they didn't have the foresight, they didn't have the knowledge that if they jumped on a guard that he was going to die. They were just like kids, like move out the way so I can leave. I don't want to stay in prison. And they tried to escape, but now you have them about to be executed. You've sentenced them to death. And so we're fighting for them, all 3 men, 48 years in prison. They need to come home.
And if I'm not mistaken, in case you don't know, Catch, I know Cross, I think that's Jew Baby.
Oh,
You know,
yeah?
That's Jew Baby. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I know him personally as well as Tony Lewis. I did time with both of them. And Jew Baby, you know, like I say, you're not the sum of what they say you are on paper.
Yeah.
This dude right here probably on every institution I've been on with him, which is a couple, I can assure you if you took a poll on the whole compound, they would say he's one of the most kind-hearted persons on the compound.
Yeah.
Always working in the law and brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant. I mean, he like got a genius IQ.
Yeah.
You know, and he always working like in the library, law library, or places like that. You know what I'm saying? So obviously the administration feels the energy and they trust him in these positions. You know what I'm saying? But yet at the same time, when you know, this is not being translated when it goes to the board. Like I said, it's too many channels. They're not seeing him. They're not talking to him. They're not sitting down and interviewing with him. And they don't even notice. They're looking at paper.
Right.
You're not the sum of what
gotta
they put
go get to
about you
know
on paper.
Them guys that have done that much time, like I be advocating for my man Dennis McClain.
Yes.
Dennis had a situation where they drunk, young, and a fighting the dude. The dude died, no weapon or nothing.
Right.
Dennis has been in there over 30 years.
Right.
People don't understand their prison record. When you went back into prison back then when the wall was open and Greenville first opened,
Survival.
You in survival mode.
Period.
You ain't had to do nothing. You're gonna be forced. See, when we first went to prison, this thing about just staying out of trouble. You try that, but you're gonna be forced for survival to defend yourself because
Absolutely.
that was the environment. It was dangerous. So a lot of these charges, a lot of these things these guys did back in there, they were forced. They had no choice but survival.
Yeah, but then all the time too, you know, when you be going up for parole and everything, you know, like you say, they always highlight the bad. You know, all the fights, all the whatever you get in, but they don't talk about you got this achievement, this GED, or this trade, that trade. You've been a facilitator, you've been a mentor. That is out the
you like
window.
what you see myself and Banky Pound doing? It's because of guys like Dennis McClain, Bebe Bradley.
Yeah.
These guys, you know what I'm saying? It's because of these guys. Vincent Martin.
Yes.
These guys mentored us in prison.
And
It's
all that
because of
noise,
these guys that we like we are.
And all that noise they made about him and that man ain't
he
did
out
nothing
here.
out here but help people.
Exactly.
You know, but
that's a narrative that we're hoping that continue using your voices to show, and the wonderful work that you guys are doing, because we have to quell the fear that because someone is released, they're so afraid that you're going to attack our women, you're going to murder our men and women. And so what you guys have to continue to do is to do the positive things in society so that we can go back in and show that your fear is just unfounded.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm really thankful for the parole board chair. I always want to shout him out, Chair Dotson, because I feel like he's taken the helm and he's not playing politics. He's separating politics. And even though there's some things that's going on with the governor, he doesn't feed into that, and he's making those hard decisions. We just won a juvenile release last week, and I ended up meeting him on Monday, and it was so good because it was a juvenile who committed a first-degree murder, but he saw the person that he is now, and he was willing to sign his name onto it and certify his release. And we continue to hope that the chair will not feed into that politics and make those hard decisions and give people like you guys a second chance so that they can come out and prove themselves. But for those of you who are out, please understand that you are playing a big role.
Yes.
So even if you're thinking about committing a crime,
Yes.
stop.
Yes.
Because you're making
Yes.
it look
And it-
really bad.
Yes.
Because all it takes is one person.
Yes,
that
and
was-
they're gonna use you
and
as the
use
poster
it.
boy
Right.
on why they should let guys like
Right.
us that's waiting, you know, the Dennis McClains, the Bebe Bradders, the Tabans, all these guys that call and they're waiting, they're gonna use you and your foolishness as
To
a
shut
reason
the
to
doors.
deny
yeah.
the next person.
But if you have done 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 plus years and you out here and you thinking, like she just said, about committing a crime, you need a psychological
Yeah,
evaluation.
because that's your mental health.
You know, you need a psychological
mental health at
evaluation
that
because if you done been fortunate enough, blessed enough to come up out of that, you should never want no more parts of it, man. And you should be trying to help somebody else not see the inside of it.
Making millions of dollars, and the victim's family have not partaken. None of those robbers took your gold, gave it. Took your language, gave it.
100% way to survive jail or prison.
Come on, man, for my
don't go.
Build your credit up. Why you need credit?
Then 12 years goes by and you don't even get a chance to go up for parole.
Supposed to die so many times, guess that's my afterlife. A lot of shit ain't work for me.